Welcome back to 5 News Tonight. Now, thousands of women are calling on the government to reverse the change to the state's pension age. Today, campaigners took their fight to the Royal Courts of Justice, where they were given permission to legally challenge that policy. Now, the women's state pension age is rising from 60 to 66 to be brought in line with men, and is set to go up again to 67 in 2028. Now, the change affects around 3.8 million women born in the 1950s. Critics say the changes have been brought in too quickly, and women haven't been given enough time to plan their finances, leaving many in poverty. Ruth Liptrott's been speaking to some of those affected.
The state pension age may have been equalised, but these women argue there's nothing equal about it. Those born in the 1950s are already likely to have experienced historical inequality, such as lower wages and longer periods of not working at all. And women against state pension equality say many women didn't find out about the changes until they turned 60, leaving them no time to come up with a financial backup plan and forcing many of them into poverty.
To leave women for 6 years with no income, you know, at an age when they've actually probably spent a lot of their time bringing up children, looking after elderly parents, as well as working. It's just completely, I think it's discriminatory.
Are you proud that you've all come together to fight this?
Yes, shows we mean business. We do mean it, and we need it. It's not that we want it, we need this money.
It's targeting a very vulnerable group. I don't think you'd get away with doing this to any other group in society, but older women are seen as a soft target, and George Osborne should hang his head in shame to do this in the name of equality.
Well, not so much of a soft target as it turns out, because today their claim that they were unlawfully discriminated against by the government was allowed to proceed. Mrs Justice Lang said their case was arguable and granted permission for their claim to proceed to a full hearing with urgency. It was a decision that was met with plenty of celebration.
Feels a bit like a party down here today, doesn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah. Well, who could blame, you know, I mean, a lot of women, about 3.8 million women are affected by this, so, you know, there's all good reason to celebrate now.
What do you think it means for these women to feel like they've been heard?
Well, I think it's great. We've been chanting permission granted, and that's to bring that full judicial review. But it also feels to me like permission granted to have a voice, and it's about time.
Having our pension stopped made me feel that I was nobody, that I didn't matter. Because I'd just been brushed under the carpet. You know, whatever I wanted, what I earned didn't matter.
And now?
Now I do matter. They're listening. They're listening. And when I say for me, I'm speaking for all of us.
This, though, is just the beginning. The hearing will take place in January. And in the meantime, it was off to Westminster on the battle bus for some more protesting.
So I have actually reached pensionable age just this year. I have lost almost 5 years worth of pension. I was expecting to retire at 60. I've had my pension age increased twice, first of all to 63 and then to just short of my 65th birthday. Now, the way this loss has affected me personally is I'm a nurse, and I actually had 2 part knee replacements. If I'd had my pension at 60, I could have gone part-time. So that would have reduced the stress on my body, you know, with arthritis, etc. And also, the other thing that's happened to me is that I made decisions, life-changing decisions, which were to sell my house, to move out of London, which maybe I wouldn't have done had I had this extra income coming in. So it has made like a massive, massive difference.
Gosh, it's so interesting that you would have continued working as well, which
yes,
is really interesting.
Exactly. I mean, I am still working now, but I'm actually working full-time, which is not good for my health. I mean, there are other women I know in worse position than me, but I actually can't afford to retire just yet because of the outgoings.
Yeah, Dr. Davina, let's talk about some of those other women who are in a worse situation too, Sheila. I mean, you're saying that many of the women you've been representing are living in poverty because of this.
Yes, exactly. And I am actually the NGO at the UN for Back to 60. And it's Back to 60 who've brought about this meeting at the court hearing at the courts today, which we're overjoyed and ecstatic that we have got permission to go further with and have a judicial review about how the government has behaved.
Yeah, what does that mean exactly then? What can or can't you do with this move?
Well, with this move, we are now going to the High Court and have a High Court judge look at exactly what has happened and see where mistakes have been made by the government and what they should do to put it right. And today was just the first part in what's going forward. And so we're ecstatic that we've got this far, because there are hundreds of thousands of women, possibly over 500,000 or more, who are in abject poverty. And with the UN connection, I worked with Professor Philip Alston, who was the special rapporteur, who I know was in the news a couple of weeks ago.
Right, a bit of a damning report.
A very damning report, summing it up by saying that the austerity measures have hit women the hardest. 85% of austerity measures have affected women in particular. And this particular group of women, the women born in the 1950s, had a special mention in his report about how badly treated they had been by the government.
Well, look, we got in touch, of course, with the Department of Work and Pensions, and this is what they told M5 News, that the government decided more than 20 years ago to make state pension age the same for men and women as a long overdue move towards gender equality. So, Sheila, this is something that, as women, we've been calling for gender equality for men and women. So this should be a good move, surely.
Well, gender equality, you've got to think about equity as well. And throughout 1950s women's lives, we have not been treated equally. We've not had equal pay. A lot of us have maybe worked part-time throughout our lives. And just in general, you know, there are certain disadvantages to women throughout our life which are now being carried forward into the pension age. So we're not starting on an equal playing field. So we don't have an objection to raising the pension age of women. But what we do object to is raising it in a way that disadvantages us further on the back of all of the disadvantages we've had.